Bearcat Bounce Podcast, back at it again. Happy Monday. Happy Monday following Bounce House Bounce. Big win against Central Florida Golden Knights. Big win for Coach Scott Satterfield and the football team. A victory. Hop on the plane, come back. 4-2 more wins than last season already. Big game on tap this weekend, homecoming Monday. Also a big Monday, basketball. That's right. Basketball will be played this Friday. Charity exhibition, Ohio State, Fifth Third Arena, Monday. Also Monday, 20th in the AP poll. The AP poll, that's right. Preseason AP poll, 20th Monday. Also Ken Palm, 17th Monday. And it's also a Monday where I'm going to welcome in the guys to pass. I got a lot to talk about today. So without further ado, Aaron Smith, Chad Brendel, Ryan Royer. Gentlemen, how are we?
Oh. He's not back yet.
He'll be back. We tried to play a joke on Ryan in the opening because he was saying, "Can you guys hear us?"
We didn't.
Chad and I. But, you know, it was like, he was like, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me?" We were like, "Yeah, we can hear you." And then Chad and I started doing a little moving our mouths, but not saying anything. And then Royer said, "Oh, my Wi-Fi sucks." And then he popped out, but he'll be back. So, Chad, how are we, man?
I'm good. Been a long day trying to figure out why the hell the podcast won't load into Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
Teenage daughter drama.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long day. Let's just get moving.
Just another manic Monday, right? That's what they call it.
Something like that, yeah.
Amen. Aaron, good to see you made it back to the old beautiful Athens, Ohio. Good seeing you in Florida. And Royer's back. Royer, we're live. Don't do anything crazy. But yeah, Aaron, how are we, man?
I'm good. Nothing to dad stuff today, all day. Back in the flow. Got a little recharge, reboost in Orlando, and we're back.
When did you land? Was that yesterday? Was that a
Sunday flight? We got in around noon yesterday.
Okay. Well, welcome back. Welcome back to the Midwest for those Midwesterners out there. Ryan, sir, how are we?
Good. How are you guys doing?
You know, can't complain, man. Monday after a big win over the weekend is way better than any other Monday. Is that right?
Yeah, but I didn't even get to watch. I watched the last drive of the game because I got caught up moving Mr. Ty Sponseller. We got caught up in the Westchester move process, so I got to watch the last couple snaps on my phone while driving home. You know, playing it nice and safe on I-71. But yeah, I wasn't normally I try to rewatch the game on Mondays, but I didn't get home from work until like 30 minutes ago. So
wow.
We don't have much to say about the games.
I'm excited for your input. It's going to be spectacular. There's no doubt about that.
Talk about the last couple plays I saw.
Yeah, that's true. Chad, that migraine's hitting hard right now, I see.
It's been a day.
It's been a damn day. The King 303, that's right. Big Bearcat basketball ranked. How about that? Top 25, top 20. Let's go ahead and say that. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But you know, it's homecoming. This week is homecoming. I'm sure a lot of people will be heading into town. You know, if you get there and you have a drive home that is outside of Cincinnati area and you need a little ride back, if you get there Friday early for, you know, the exhibition game, you have a couple hours on hand, why don't you swing over to Danco Transmission and Auto Care? Tell Danco Joe to hook you up with quick fixing. With, you know, get yourself an oil change. Get yourself some tire rotation. You know, do some car stuff with Danco Joe. Tell him that Chad sent you, Aaron sent you, Ryan sent you. Tell him that, you know, Cam Scottaboo sent you, and in a sad way that he sent you. And Danco Joe will hook you up. He'll get you $10 off the oil change, 10% off your next fixing over at Danco Transmission and Auto Care. Royer, what you were able to see the very end of was the ability to finally take down and put away the UCF, the Central Florida Golden Knights, UCF Knights, if you will, 19-13. A game that was interesting to say the least. A tale of two halves for the offense, especially Brendan Sorsby. Defensive display that was quite strong throughout. A couple of big special teams plays on top of it all. But, in the end, I think the main takeaway is got to be 4-2 on the season and literal seconds away from a 5-1 start to the season and literal handful of plays away from a uncharacteristically strange 6-0 start to the year after what happened last season. So, Aaron, Chad, you guys were there. Well, Aaron, you were there. Chad, you were able to take in the game. Yeah.
I was at the Holy Grail.
You were at the Holy Grail. How was the Holy Grail watch party? Let's first dive into that one.
It was good. Pretty standard. Luckily, it feels like it's the first time in forever that the Ohio State game hasn't been on at the same time, which means the mouth breathers find their way into the building. So we didn't have that to worry about. So it was good. Tables were full. Place was bumping. It was a little uneasy there for the first half, just feeling like you hate those games when you feel like you should be up more at halftime and it's close. And you're like, I don't like the uneasy feeling of leaving a lot of points on the board. But as well as the offense played, you had to know that a bump in the road was coming where things just kind of were a little off. And that's what it felt like. It felt like the offense was just a little bit off. They were blitzing constantly, sending 5-6 guys. They did a good job disrupting the line of scrimmage, and you can tell it kind of threw the offense kind of off kilter. Fortunately, they found a way to kind of get back on track, and that eased the tension at the Holy Grail as we went through the game.
It was a pretty weird first half. I think it was pretty interesting listening to Coach Satterfield again, kind of, and Chad, you mentioned it with Aaron as well, the fact that all those injured players coming out of the Texas Tech game during the bye week, instead of kind of, going through the regular week, they kind of gave them the week off. So it was kind of a good to get the health back, but kind of rough trying to get back on the same page quickly as UCF kind of threw a curveball. I know there was talks about it throughout the week, especially, Thursday and Friday of last week about whole KJ Jefferson and, is he going to be the starter on Saturday and whatnot? Some of the, the different forums that UCF has online kind of saying, hey, word is maybe see a change at quarterback. I guess this is when I could bring in Royer. So obviously the team found out 15 minutes before kickoff that it wasn't going to be KJ Jefferson getting the start. Instead, it was going to be true freshman EJ Colson. And then he obviously only played a quarter and then a couple more snaps after that. So leading into it, I think the one game I would think would probably be at Tulane, I remember, was kind of a little bit of a confusion in the 2021 season of who was going to be the starter at quarterback for Tulane in that game. How much does it throw things off? I thought Tyson Veit had a good words to the team before that you saw on the what do they call it, the Clifton replay or whatever it is on the
Clifton cut,
which is awesome. Those are spectacularly put together. But he kind of said, hey, listen, yes, this is going to be brand new quarterback, but he's learning the same offense that KJ Jefferson has run. He's running that same offense in practice. So kind of stick to what we had game planned out and take it from there. But how much of a curveball truly is it when there is a change at such an important position of quarterback?
It just depends. Typically when we had guys that we might have suspected would be getting some snaps, we'd kind of have some parts of practice where we'd, rep kind of if they have like a different style offense when he comes in, make sure we're repping like a lot of times you bring in a running quarterbacks. We're making sure we're repping the quarterback run types of folds that they can throw in there. But in all honesty, there's so many adjustments during the game that happens just after the first, second, third drive, especially after the first half. I mean, everyone's kind of used to like the scheme kind of adjusting on the fly, even if it's the same quarterback in there too. So it's kind of just, get your first drive out there, second drive, third drive, then you kind of start getting a feel for what they're trying to do, how consistent they're staying to the original game plan, and then you're kind of going on from there. So I don't think it's not that big of an adjustment, especially if they don't have like a totally different style change and they're looking to run the same sort of offense. But you mentioned that Tulane kind of situation, and they almost went into a full-on like Army Navy style offense where it was just a completely different look. So I think that's a little bit different, but for the most part, most teams don't really have situations like that. But obviously, I think the defense kind of stepped up after the last showing at Texas Tech. So, I mean, they were able to adjust on the fly and do a good job, and keep the pressure on a backup quarterback. So, good for them. It was good to see them get a bounce back and keep some guys out of the end zone after that Texas Tech game.
Yeah. Chad, Aaron, what was your guys' thoughts when you saw the whole talks about bringing in this new quarterback? Because obviously we are highly used to hearing the name KJ Jefferson, especially after that game against Arkansas a couple years ago.
Well, he's been playing terrible.
Yeah.
The way I found out was when they announced the starting lineups, and they announced freshman EJ Colson starting the game. I'm like, that's a fantastical waste of money on a very expensive NIL player in KJ Jefferson. Way to go, UCF.
So for me, the main thing was the fact that EJ Colson is 17 years old. And if you've watched any college football this year, you've heard that story about Ryan Williams over at Alabama. Boy, oh boy, he is 17 years old. Look at him out there, what he's doing. So I was like, gosh, are we going to get the UCF version of look at this 17-year-old down in Orlando. Look at what he's doing. But no, that was not the case. He was in there for a little bit and then out pretty doggone quickly. And then Curry Brown, I thought, actually came in. Chad, I think you mentioned this on Saturday night's show. I thought that Brown actually played pretty solid. He
was the best.
Himself.
Yeah, he was the better of the two guys for sure.
What was it? 13 of 20, 207 yards and a touchdown. Also gained, of course, the 84 yards on the ground. Take out the sack plays. He had 112 gained yards and, of course, all the sacks. 4 times he was sacked. It's a pretty impressive number. But I don't really think quarterback was the main worry for the defense coming in. I think, obviously, and we heard it in the press conferences as well, is just really stopping the run. The numbers would kind of suggest that they didn't necessarily do that to a great level, but 94 yards total for RJ Harvey. 196 holds UCF underneath their average. 4.9 yards per carry. Overall, how would you guys think that the defensive rushing attack did?
I mean, go ahead, Aaron.
I thought that was the best that the defense played all season, including the Houston shutout. Houston's offense was not what UCF's offense was, and I think that holding RJ Harvey under 100 yards, holding that offense, even with a mobile quarterback or two, under 200 yards, and I think third down, 5 of 13, like that's where you could have ended up in big trouble, where you have ended up in trouble at times over the course of the last season and a half. And I was thoroughly impressed from the fact that they faced adversity and still found a way to win the game, as opposed to last season. It seemed more often than not they'd find a way to lose. So I was happy.
I like that they didn't lose sight of the goal, which was shutting down RJ Harvey. I can deal with a quarterback keeping it and getting some yards here and there. But Harvey is a dude that if he gets in space, he can take it deep quick. And they did a really good job making sure he was bottled up. Yeah, the quarterbacks, there was some space to the outside at times on the read option, but nothing really too damaging. And
Yeah.
Harvey had one long run. For the most part, it was, 5-6 yards you can deal with. He did not get a chance to really ever get in a rhythm because, look, that was a low scoring game. If he breaks one or two, UCF wins that game. Like that's just the reality of it. So I think the biggest takeaway for me, one, Antoine Peak is kind of like put himself in position to be that guy at the star position more often than not. Just in a lot of ways, just because of his aggressiveness and ability to come up and hit somebody in the run game. And then two, between Golday and Bartlett, you're starting to see the type of linebacker play that makes this defense so effective. And that's what we talked about. Every game that they've looked shaky, you've been able to point to linebackers and say, those guys haven't been where they need to be. They were where they needed to be pretty much throughout the game on Saturday. And that was a huge advantage for the Bearcats.
It's refreshing how hard Antoine Peak hits without having to worry about getting a penalty.
And he punches the ball. He punches the ball.
Yeah.
Aggressively.
I think it was first him. Fumble. Yeah, I thought it was him because everyone keeps saying it's Bartlett, but if you watch the behind view, he's the one that comes in and punches the ball. So it's credited to Bartlett.
The later one was absolutely him that he punched.
Right.
So he had two of them that he punched free.
And, and Kerry did a good job in his article. Kerry always does a good job with his upon further review articles. But it's with Peak, you kind of see what this defense has been able to do. They don't necessarily get interceptions a bunch as they're more so. It seems like on every tackle, you even saw Golday on a few of the plays at the end where he's just punching away at the ball too. And one play was pretty obnoxious. He just kept punching and punching, and I was like, this looks like a little brawl happening out on the field for a second. But it seems as if that's something that they stress and they teach is hey, someone hold him up, the other player come in and try and punch the ball out type situation.
It's just a movement all the way. I feel like it started in the NFL probably about maybe my freshman or sophomore year, where I think coaches in the college really started picking up on it. And I remember Coach Freeman made a huge emphasis on it because if you really watch football, the fumbles aren't happening from guys coming in and like mauling the guy, ripping the ball out. It's just literally just hands coming in out of nowhere where that running back receiver is just looking to either brace for impact on a guy coming directly on in, or, he thinks he's out in the clear and these guys are just lunging at him. But if you just get that fist right in there and if you practice it every day, like we would do that on defense. It's literally anytime someone comes past you,
does it a lot.
Yeah.
Like
no pads, full contact, walk through. It's always punch at the ball because that's how fumbles are really caused. If you watch any NFL, watch any college game, it's all just the most unlikely, like loose hand, like little jabs that just come out of nowhere. But it's definitely an emphasis all over the game.
Well, because even if you see like with the high and tight, what do they call it, the eagle or the falcon or whatever it is, to hold the ball. Even the strongest punch is going to be able to kind of jar something a little loose. And so, even Golday kind of got lucky on his forced fumble. He kind of seems like he overran Richardson, which, Richardson was not ready for the game on Saturday. That's for damn sure. But Golday's strip was fantastic too. He just got a hand out and just knocked the ball out, and then he recovered it right away. Which was kind of the Jake Golday game in my eyes as well. But I wanted to quickly say, because Chad was mentioning the fact that the defense was pretty much keying in on stopping Mr. RJ Harvey. Do you guys remember last season's game at all against UCF? I feel like a lot of last year has kind of been removed from our brains. But the RJ Harvey ran all over the Bearcats. He had 20 carries, had 17 this past week, and then he gained 164 yards and 3 touchdowns at Nippert Stadium. His long in that game was only 27 yards. The long that he had this past Saturday was 31 yards. So you kind of break that down. Harvey was demolishing the Bearcat defense last year. Just run after run after run instead of like what Chad mentioned. He got one big one. And then after that, it was kind of just, a little here, a little there. And so I think that obviously is a huge hat tip to the defense and what they were able to do. Chad touched on Peak. I'm interested to see if Peak is more so the ace when it comes to stopping the run on defense. I want to see him a little bit more in pass coverage and whatnot. I don't know kind of what the rotations are back there. But, I mean, on Saturday when, you got Scattaboo coming in, he's going to be challenging the defense yet again. And I imagine Peak's going to be kind of the first safety at that position that the Bearcats look at to be out there to try and stop Cam. So interested to see kind of what what rotation comes this upcoming Saturday. But overall, I think this has been a pretty doggone good flow. But another name I wanted to mention real quick is Dante Corleone. I think it's safe to say that Dante is looking like an All-American.
All the way back.
All the way back. Aaron, I mean, you were there. What did you see? Are you kind of thinking that this is the Dante that we all remember? I mean, the main thing for me that is so interesting about Dante is, he finished with 4 tackles and 2 sacks, but his tackles are all like 3 solo tackles at the nose tackle position. I mean, that's just outstanding with 2 of them being sacks. It's just, I don't know. It's pretty hard to fathom what it's like without Dante there in the middle, because he seems like he gets better as the game wears on, which is just crazy to think about for a man of his size playing at a position where every single play you are just mauling in the middle of the line.
And he gets held like every play as well, because he's getting through, and that's what you do is you protect your quarterback at all costs. And that's how you can't call holding every play. It would be the most awful game ever. So you live with what gets called and whatever. But he's, I don't know. He's special. We all know that but seeing him improve and seeing him back to the level of play that we anticipated before we even heard the words lung blood clots associated with Dante Corleone. I mean, he's not missing a beat at this point, and I look forward to what he has left in the second half of the season without having to worry about any of the stuff he had to worry about the first half of the season.
Yeah, he's a guy that obviously gets mentioned almost every single time that a coach has a press conference, which Gus Malzahn mentioned how hard it is to go up against him, and especially trying to scheme a rushing attack and whatnot. So it's literally a scenario where the Bearcats have an absolute luxury there in the middle of that defensive line, and he's obviously the pulse that keeps things going. It's kind of crazy. Ryan's off screen right now. I don't know where he is, but
I'm right here.
There we are. We mentioned a couple weeks ago the whole defensive line stunts and how like it seems like our personnel is kind of big for the stunts. And one of Dante's sacks this past weekend was a literal stunt that he did coming around the edge, and I feel like the tackle just wasn't even there. I don't know, he didn't pass off the defender. And Dante showed some wheels to be able to come around that corner and get upfield and make a sack. So, Dante, you can continue to prove me wrong every single time with every stunt that you do if it turns out like that, which it did that play. So it was pretty phenomenal.
I don't mind them using him occasionally like that.
Right.
I didn't care for when they did it all the damn time a season ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I feel like that was even different intent out of the defensive line last season. I don't even Didn't they drop him back into coverage a couple times?
Yeah.
Like,
no, just let the big fella push somebody complete 5 yards backwards. Like that's what he's there for.
Every play.
Yeah. I mean, it was spectacular. Royer, what's your take on when you're facing a team that has the ability with both the quarterback and the running back to gain yards on the ground? Are you okay with letting the quarterback kind of get his if you shut down the dynamic, potentially future NFL player from kind of going off and setting a pace throughout the game in RJ Harvey? Because that's pretty drastic stat changes from one season to the next. Chad, I don't know if you heard that when you're off air. It was a 40-yard difference in total yardage, 3 total touchdowns for RJ Harvey last year, and the yards per carry was 8.6 yards per attempt. So it's literally like he kind of just had a pulse on the game all throughout last season's game. And this week, they were able to shut him down.
I think, the way I always approached it, and I thought when I was at Cincinnati, the approach was I always enjoyed and thought it was the right approach was, they want to do this. They want to run the ball. Well, they're not running the ball on us. Like no one's going to run the ball on us. We're going to win at the point of attack. We're going to get off blocks. We're going to destroy blocks, and we're going to eliminate the run. And, it just depends on if you're talking more of like a scrambling quarterback situation or more of a set, like quarterback, running back option type of like inside, outside zone type stuff. But, if it's more of a scrambling guy, we would kind of just highlight that by, our Mike would always spy a lot in our version of the 3-5. So we would kind of hone in on that, maybe not use him as much in the rush attack, especially if you have a quarterback that likes to get outside the pocket. But it's kind of the way when you have inside outside zone, you have a guys responsible for both the quarterback and running back at all times. Just do they keep their eyes clean and they make the play and not get caught up in the misdirection and whatnot. But no, just to kind of answer your question, it was always like, if this is what they do, like we have to stop them. We have to limit them. We can't just say, oh, they're going to rush for 200 yards. Like we're going to give them that and make them beat us. Like, no, like I think any and all defenses, you need to take rushing yards as personal because it really is kind of like attacking the manhood of your team, like getting ran on. So I think if like how we did, we were able to kind of slow down their run game. Like that should be the goal. And if you do that, like I think good things are going to happen. And that's kind of what you saw on Saturday.
Well, I think they said, look, they might get 200 yards rushing on the ground, but it's not going to be RJ Harvey. And I think they learned, like with Taj Brooks, like letting that one guy go for 160, 170 yards can wreck you. And, they did a great job. I mean, he had the 131-yard carry, and other than that, he had like 60 yards on 16 carries.
Yep.
That's what you have to do to that guy. That's what you have to do. That offense is so predicated on him chewing up yardage.
Yeah.
I mean, that's their identity right now. And then everything else plays in line off of that. Without him being the catalyst, they get desperate. Like they get jumpy a little bit. And, that's how you have to kind of handle them.
Yeah. First 3 games of the season, 142 yards, 126 yards, 180 yards. Obviously, they won all of those games. In the last 3 games, 77 yards, 75 yards, and then on Saturday, 94 yards. They lost all 3 of those games. And this is also the first game that all season that he's been held without a touchdown, whether through the air or on the ground. So hat tip to the Bearcat defense. They had one plan seemingly coming into it, and they were able to completely contain him. And it's a huge reason why they came out with the win. Chad, is this the Jake Golday that the staff was anticipating when they were so excited about this type of high prize recruit?
Yeah, I mean, he's doing what they expected him to do now that he's finding his comfort level in the system. He's disruptive. I mean, He's got incredible length, incredible athleticism.
Mhm.
You can tell he's got a good football IQ. It took him a little while, which like that's kind of what I think people took it wrong. What I was saying earlier in the season with him was that you had to account for the fact that it was going to take him a little while. He was jumping up a level. He's playing a different position, playing a different scheme. Like that stuff is not, you don't just all of a sudden jump in and everything is easy and everything is, it goes your way. So it took a little bit of time, but this is the guy that they were expecting. They were expecting a difference maker at linebacker, and that is what he is growing into. And, the more he and Bartlett can disrupt offenses, the more that this defense looks how it's supposed to look. Like, if you got a chance to watch West Virginia and Iowa State on Saturday, you saw it. Like, their linebackers were everywhere, shutting down that West Virginia offense. That's the backbone of this defense, which is a lot different than the 3-3-5 that Fickle used, that Freeman used. The linebackers were still important, but it was kind of more collective. Like, they had the edge rusher, they had the lockdown corners, they had NFL safeties. Like, the linebackers were a piece of the puzzle. In this defense, the linebackers are expected to be the stars that make plays, and now they are.
And,
no pun intended.
We've touched on the kind of how Brian Cook was such a big help in the run fit at that boundary safety, because the way we ran it was like we wanted him to come in there. We wanted him to be in that like immediate like glance lane, like that quick little kind of deeper slant, kind of the people would like to run to the boundary. Like we wanted him in that lane and also in the run fit. You could tell just by his tackling numbers how well he did kind of fitting up in there. But the way it seems that we run it a little different now. And, that's why I think we were having trouble with the run, is because, our linebackers weren't, winning at the point of attack as much as they should have been. You can kind of see them evolving. And I think that's, getting comfortable with the scheme, running a defense, a new defense with a new D coordinator. It's hard to kind of get everyone on the same page and feel comfortable. And I'm sure a lot of those guys didn't come from 3-3-5. And so you're kind of seeing as the season comes on, they're getting comfortable. They're knowing where they need to be and knowing how to kind of maneuver around blocks a little bit better, so that they can kind of work on their block defeat and kind of work in tandem with that D line. Because if you're not, like I've said, like several times, keep beating the drum. Like it's just a numbers game. It's really what it is. In the run game, the pass rush game, and the passing attack game too, man. It's all about trying to get one-on-one or trying to get one guy trying to cover two and stuff like that. So I think the guys are definitely getting better. And, I think the rush attack is getting more and more exotic looking. I like the stunts. It just seems like they have more and more stunts each week, better rush lanes, better rush blitz packages too with the linebackers. That game ending sack, one of the 5 plays I got to watch, that was good to see there. So, but yeah, I agree with you, Chad. Like the linebackers need to play well, and it just so happens they, like Aaron said, they played their best game of the year, and their linebackers probably had their best of the year. It's kind of a linear correlation there.
Connor, thanks for the donation. We are going to we'll have a whole segment on basketball here shortly. That last one, I don't know who you're hearing those rumors from, but don't listen to them anymore.
Could be great for coverage, yeah. But yeah.
The good one.
I did a quick search on Twitter, and I don't see anything about it. So sure.
Yeah.
We'll see. But I was also wanted to mention one last thing about defense before we head out. At first, before they called the timeout before the final play of the game, it looked like they were only going to bring 3 on that final play. Then on the Clifton cut, you saw Vite kind of talk about, he's like, are you guys okay with bringing the rush? And then they ended up bringing 5. I'm in the camp. I'm interested to hear your guys' thoughts. I'm in the camp where bring that rush on that final play. It's don't go, cover zero, but bring some pressure, especially
No.
against these quarterbacks that aren't very, they're inexperienced to say the least, and just try and fluster them. Worst case, you kind of get something broken, and maybe they try and this quarterback steps up in the pocket, tries to run the ball or something, and clock runs out of time. Your guys' take, I thought it was the smartest idea to bring the rush on the play.
That is, bring 5. I say bring 6, but make sure it's a balanced rush. Because if you think about it, numbers 6 guys rushing, you still got 5 on 4, and that's if they don't try to bring someone in to if they don't pick up on the rush. But they have 25 seconds. The amount of time, if you bring 6 guys, that quarterback is not going to have time to even get the ball anywhere near a receiver that would be able to score a touchdown. I think that was a really good adjustment. And just don't even give them a chance to kind of run around back there and move in any crazy, like with a scramble or like a wide receiver running around the back of the end line, just because they have so much time. So I'm in team bring 5, add another one too.
Throw prevent in the trash. I'm with Ryan.
Oh, but they were only on what, like the 27-yard line?
In the trash, Brent.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, Baylor is one team that I would never want to have them to teach my defense how to play prevent defense. If you watch that Baylor Colorado game from a few weeks ago, but yeah, I agree. Throw it in the trash. Chad, are you throwing prevent in the trash as well?
I'm not a big fan of it. I mean, I don't hate it like on the really long ones, because it's just like, how many guys do you have back there that can go up and smack the ball down or whatever? But that was a weird one because it wasn't a Hail Mary.
No,
it's 25 yards. Like bring some heat. Yeah. Like, don't let him find a route, find the guy that breaks open. They had I think they had 4 safeties standing at the goal line or whatever. But make them uncomfortable, especially it wasn't a veteran quarterback. You weren't dealing with a guy that maybe could escape and find some space and make a throw. Because that guy, the minute he brought his eyes down and stopped looking at where the route might be, he was swamped. It was done. Yeah. So, and it helps when you have a guy like Golday with the type of speed that, the quickness and athleticism he has off the edge. He got in there quick, and there was no chance for them to get anything.
5 sacks on the day. How about that, man? And of course, it was
number 2 in the Big 12 in sacks.
Unbelievable.
For a team that all we've talked about is can't get pressure. Yeah. They create havoc. They're getting sacks now. So whatever, and we talked about this at the beginning of the year. Remember, it's probably not going to be the D lineman.
Right.
If they're going to get to the quarterback, they're going to have to be a little creative with it. And it's been Bartlett and it's been Golday and you've seen Phillips and Corleone and you're mixing in guys where the defense isn't able to just if we stop this one guy, we can keep them from getting to our quarterback.
14 so far this year, 18 all last year. So quite a turn of the page on that stat, and already more wins this year than they had last year. I don't know, those things kind of go hand in hand, but I'm going to make the correlation right there. Now let's talk offense. Boy, after the first half, I think everyone was ready to say this is Sorsby's first rough go at it when it comes to putting a full game together. But obviously, there's a whole second half to the game. And Chad, you love that stat. You said you were going to be mentioning it quite a lot in the next 3 or 4 days. So this is day 3. I still want to hear about that stat that you mentioned on Saturday, because for as rough of a go that Sorsby had in the first half with the 2 interceptions, with kind of some throws being a little errant here and there, even one of the biggest plays to Manny Covey was kind of a little high. Covey had to go out with one hand and bring it down.
Made a great catch.
Yeah, I made a great catch on it. But Chad, I love the stat. So go ahead and take it away. Royer, you probably haven't heard the stat. So Chad.
from the middle of the third to the middle of the fourth quarter, Sorsby completed 10 consecutive passes, 6 of them for first downs, 6 of them for double-digit yardage. He is a rhythm guy. Like when he is in rhythm, I'll go in that foxhole with him over just about anybody in the college game. And kudos to UCF. They sent 5, they sent 6. They were sending them early, they were sending them late. Like they did a good job keeping him guessing. But once they figured it out, and again, credit to Scott Satterfield, he said at halftime, he basically asked Sorsby, like, what's working? What are you comfortable with? And let's do more of that, which a lot of play callers don't do that shit, man. We're going to run the plays that I call come hell or high water. A lot of respect for a guy that goes to his quarterback and says, what are you seeing? What are we going to do? What are we going to be able to do to back this defense off? And they did it. And he got a lot more comfortable. And then once he got in rhythm, he is a tough one to stop, man, because he sees it so clear once he figures it out, once he kind of deciphers what the combination is on the lock. And he did that in the second half Saturday. And that's how they got out. A big reason why they got out of there with the win is that the offense, even though they only scored, there was a touchdown and a field goal, the same it was in the first half, they weren't stalling out nearly as much as they did early.
Yeah, didn't seem like it. I mean,
and they won field position. I think, like, if you go back and look, they lost field position in the first half pretty drastically. Like, they weren't getting early first downs. They were punting, but they were punting from deep in their own territory. That tilted the field towards UCF. Second half, that flopped. And, you saw the punt down to the 1 at the end. They had another one that was inside the 15. So that's some of that, like, hidden secret yardage stuff that even if you're not getting touchdowns, if you're picking up some first downs and moving the chains and allowing your, all-conference, all-American level punter to do his thing, those things, kind of work in rhythm, kind of work in tandem to help you on days when you're not, driving all the way up and down the field.
Yeah. And Aaron, I think you had a good way to put how that first half was kind of on both sides of the football. It was, what did you call it?
It was sloppy, and it was the weirdest half of football I've ever seen.
You called it Florida Man post hurricane.
I did call it Florida Man post hurricane. That was an excellent analogy by me. I do say so myself.
Yeah, well, I mean the sequence of Bearcats get the turnover via the fumble, drive down the field looking good. Sorsby throws his first pick. Very next play, Golday gets another fumble. Then after that, Cincinnati only picks up 1 yard the next 3 plays, starting at their own 5-yard line, kick a field goal. It was a very drunk, as you mentioned, first half of play. But what did you think overall with Sorsby being able to then step up in the second half? I mean, he still had a rushing touchdown in the first half. He still, he had the 2 interceptions, but he still threw for $120 and had some good plays in that first half as well. But it did seem like in that second half, he even mentioned the postgame presser, which you were there for, about how kind of what they schemed for and what they saw on tape. UCF kind of just did completely different on the defensive side of the ball. So what was your kind of takeaway with the tale of two halves of Sorsby's play?
He showed that he can overcome adversity. He also, I feel like I don't know that he necessarily did as well, at least in the first half, at taking what the defense gave him. I think he got that more under control in the second half. And he still continues to put the team on his back. I don't think he did it unnecessarily. So he did what needed to be done, and he's not afraid to hand the ball off in situations either. He's just an impressive kid. He's continues to show why this staff was so high on him so early in the process, and they found a gem, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And the fact that you can have star receivers and Xavier Henderson leading into the game, obviously, and then UCF did a good job taking him out of the game. And then you have Tony Johnson step up. I thought Tony Johnson, I think, Aaron, you mentioned it, the best game of his Bearcat career up to this point. You could tell he was kind of showing out in front of his he had a lot of family in attendance and whatnot. So cool to see that. Stepped up big time, Tony did. And, I think that was kind of what we talked about in all offseason. And 8 catches, 76 yards, and a touchdown. We said, who's going to fill in at that, wide receiver 2 position behind Xavier Henderson? We said, Tony Johnson's looking great. And then Jamoy Mays is looking great. And then Jamoy Mays had a couple of good games as well. He only finished with 4 catches, 27 yards, but I feel like he had a little bit more of an impact on this game than what that was. I don't know. I thought, and then, of course, Joe Royer is Joe Royer. He's an absolute legend. Someone I saw tossed around the fact that he might be able to, I think it was Carey in his article, might be able to overtake all the single season receptions, yards, and touchdowns records away from Travis Kelce, which would be a tall task and something that would go down the record book. So we'll see if Joe Royer continues on that path. Anything more? Offensively, obviously, held underneath 100 yards in the rushing attack. What did you guys think about that? Was it more so you think that the defense of the Knights was scheming up to take away the run? I mean, obviously, Kiner had that huge burst on that first drive. And then outside of that, it was kind of stymied for the most part until that final drive where he was getting chunk after chunk. And then, they decided to go with the pop pass to Jamoy Mays. But overall, it seemed like, I don't know, it was tough sledding for the rushing attack in this afternoon.
They have a good run defense, and they were crowding the line of scrimmage. They were trying to win the numbers battle, as Ryan and I always talk about. It is a numbers game. I thought they committed more numbers to the line of scrimmage to take away the run, to not let Cincinnati get going there. And they don't want a shortened game. Like they want to get as many possessions as they can. So, I thought that was kind of a dual pronged. It was, they were sending 5 and 6 guys almost every snap, it felt like. And there's just not going to be a lot of room, between the tackles, between the hash marks, when that's the case. I would maybe like to have seen a little bit more in the screen game. But I thought the way that they adjusted, they were throwing a lot of the slants, a lot of the like little inside stuff that was right over top of that defense that was coming at, the backfield pretty heavily. So once they adjusted, what they were doing was working pretty well. But I mean, that's the nature of the beast. Like teams are going to gear up to try to stop something. Right. And you have to figure out, okay, if they're going to take that away, then we're going to go to this. And that's kind of what happened.
Yeah. UCF second in the Big 12 in rushing defense. Second in the nation, in the entire country, is Kansas State. So that road game at Kansas State might be eerily similar to this. And it's going to have to be a lot of Sorsby and then finding avenues to pick up yards on the ground as well. Barry Jackson had a sighting in this game as well. I thought, he did I think as he continues to try and carve out a bit of a role, obviously he's extremely young still. So it's good to see him just even get on the stat sheet and have a positive play. Special teams. Well, first off, Chad, you kind of mentioned it in the show on Saturday. Aaron, you as well. That final drive for the offense where Kiner picked up 9, then picked up the first down, picked up 6, and then it's the pop pass to Jamoy Mays. Hindsight 2020, but probably the same, drum that we were beating after the Pitt game. Just continue to try and force feed it to Kiner on that one. But I mean, either way, a win's a win. We move on. But the pop pass to Jamoy Mays was probably the one head scratcher that I would kind of pull out of this game.
It's getting nitpicky, and I said the same thing,
Yeah,
so
right.
I get it. But you're obviously happy with the way things went. So
yeah, exactly. Special teams.
They're
real fast.
not just going to call every run to Kiner. Like, you got to do something to back the defense off a little bit.
Right.
I didn't love the play that they ran, but I understand, like, you're going to try to at least keep them a little bit off balance. You can't just the same thing over and over and over again. Very rarely works. Like they've got a really good run defense. They're gonna stop you if they just stand there at the point of attack and wait for you to run at them. So I don't know. I might have done something a little different in terms of what the play call was.
Yeah.
But I get trying to like back up. It's like we're not afraid to hurt you in a different way here.
Yeah. And like we said, hindsight 2020, obviously it was a win. But it was a something that, whatever, nitpicky as Aaron put it. I agree with that. Special teams. Just got to touch on it real fast. Nathan Hawks had a little difficulty yet again in this one. Missed an extra point and also missed the somewhat of a chip shot field goal attempt as well. I don't know. Your guys' overall take on just that side of things. Obviously he's done a great job being able to make those deep, kicks. Missed a 36-yarder, got the 22-yarder, nailed the 51-yarder, and then obviously missed that PAT. I don't know. Kicking is a forever difficult thing to even.
It's hard.
Yeah, it is. Kicking is hard.
I brought up the chat. Maybe we keep Nathan Hawks in for the 40, 45 plus kicks.
Yeah.
And bring in Carter Brown if he's still open to playing this season. To the shorter stuff, and not that I've heard anything one way or the other in regards to Carter Brown, but I don't even know if he has a red shirt available. But
he does.
Just okay.
Just I had to guess, maybe probably planning to use it.
I'd assume that as well. But that's all to say. I wonder if you could do that where he's doing the 30, 35 to 40 and everything under. And you had Hawks doing the long stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. It's such a weapon to have someone that can nail a 50+ yard field goal, but obviously it's you got to be able to hit the close stuff. But I mean, no one's making every single damn field goal. They aren't even doing that in the NFL. So either way, it's just kicking is hard, and I won't sit here and pretend to be a kicking specialist and know what I'm talking about. I think Royer would be the kicking specialist. He used to boot some 25-yarders back in his day. So, I don't know.
And he is a special teams ace. Like
he is.
He's got a block punt in his career.
That's true.
That directly correlates to field goal kicking.
Yeah.
I was the spot coach with Brian Mason here.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Look, none of us have played special teams. You have.
Yeah, it's a really big mental thing, man. And I think you have a lot, at the level, we're just jumping up to the Big 12 coming in the American. You're going to be able to like steal some kids that can kind of handle the pressure. And because these guys, they can set up the tees, they can make anything past 50, they can go very damn near perfect. And then you get them in practice, tightens up a little bit, they'll miss a couple, then you get into the games, especially away, or like with Texas Tech. I mean, I kind of explained this to one of my buddies this over the weekend. I think it was last weekend, just like how many kickers make it to the NFL a year. Like if you just do the percentage wise of a kicker that like makes an NFL roster out of college versus all other position groups, and the line of great is just, there's only so few amount of great kickers in college, yet alone like in football, the sport in general. So you're going to get guys that just, aren't aren't as confident and ready for these big moments, especially if we're kind of trying to boost up our special teams recruiting, now getting into a bigger conference. It's hard to like have enough guys to go around for, you get all the best guys are going to go to like the best schools, and then you're going to try to develop guys. But man, these moments are big. It's hard to deliver. And I think you're seeing that. I've seen it at Cincinnati a lot. You're seeing it all over college football too, but it's just hard. It's a very technical, a very mental thing. And I think it's hard to like simulate it. It's hard to coach too.
Hard.
Like,
It's hard, right?
the other
It's
thing
hard.
is about those bigger programs, like
You ever
they'll
kicked field goal
hire
in Lubbock?
kickers.
It's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It is hard. There's no doubt. I mean, look all over college football. It's difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, then obviously let's end on a high note because Bearcats won. Mason Fletcher had a vintage Mason Fletcher boot to begin the fourth quarter there. I thought it was one of the plays of the game, obviously, because that was kind of when the game was kind of in. It was just wide open still at that point. Downed it at the 1. I don't think anything was going on for UCF after that. Obviously, so then Cincinnati got the ball back, and that was when they were able to get the touchdown pass to Tony Johnson. Just had the big time play by Mason Fletcher, and of course, at the end there again, he had another punt with high pressure on him where he got hit after the punt as well. So
Should have been a flag.
Should have been a flag, but it was not. No call. But in the end, it is a victory for the Bearcats. Big win. One that obviously changes every single trajectory to now looking like it's going to be a chance to go bowling, and they look pretty doggone good actually. It was a weird game, but they look good as far as pulling out wins. Last year they would not have been able to pull out that one. I don't think so. So 19-13 final, and take down those Knights, the old UCF Knights.
Boy, things are bad in Orlando.
Gosh, they are. I was talking to some fans there, obviously, and one group on the elevator. I was like, what are your guys' pulse on the program? They were like, we were done with Gus a couple weeks ago, but now he's just completely done. We're done. And I was just like, all right, good pulse.
How do you think those fans would have meshed with the Bearcat fans after the Pitt game?
Oh man, it would have been a melee. We're like, yeah, let's just go back to the American.
Their fans are ready to stop giving to the NIL because they don't feel like the school spends it correctly. Which
but they get they get high ranked recruits. Like they do what you're supposed to do.
That's not going to help you. Not giving to the NIL. What are you thinking? Oh, I'm just not going to give money to them because I'm going to spend my money other places. I'm done with my season tickets. They don't do it. Get out of here. You're dumb.
Also, did Miles Montgomery play on a torn ACL just to play against the Bearcats? I thought he was out for the year.
Yeah. I thought I saw a ghost. They were like, Miles Montgomery. I was like, no.
I know. I was like, what?
There he was.
Sure enough.
Yeah, I was like,
or at least someone wearing his jersey.
Yeah.
It said Montgomery on the back.
I'm saying.
It did. Hey, but big play, big tackle by Logan Wilson, bringing him down for a loss on the play. And of course, Clifton Cutt did a great job. Back-to-back plays. One is the stiff arm by Kiner on Deshaun Pace, and the very next one is the tackle for loss on Miles Montgomery. I don't think they did that, on purpose. They did, but it was very tasteful for those out there that understand the backstory. Yes.
Did Brian Threats have any highlights, or
I think
no?
he might have watched from the comfort of his own home. I don't know.
Dave put up a thing that was like one tackle, one rush, one loss, and somebody said, I don't see Threat stats. What about Brian Threats? I was like, his stats are in there.
Yeah. The boys.
Yikes.
It is funny seeing DP after the one interception that I think that was like kind of the lob ball that Sorsby
Yeah.
threw up the first one, which by the way, if Sorsby put some air underneath that,
If
it
he
could be
throws it to the end zone, it was a
Yeah.
touchdown.
yeah. But I don't know
He
why
didn't get enough arm on it.
threw it like 5 yards short. But you saw afterwards DP's just tapping Royer on the helmet, and I'm like, gosh, yeah, there he is doing
Some
the
things never
DP thing.
change.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it was a win. Brings the series to 5-5. Kind of crazy. They've only played 10 times, but good to stop the 2-game skid against that team from Disney World. So, anything more on that game, guys? I'm about ready to move on.
I'm good.
No?
All the way.
All right.
Good.
Arizona State this weekend. Bo Scotty-Bo. Go ahead.
Quick Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. They service over 150 restaurants with weekly low minimum next-day deliveries, providing a wide range of food service products from to-go containers, cups, custom printed products, eco-friendly, and much more. They also have cleaning and restroom supplies for all your janitorial needs. Call Nick 513-470-2029 and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
Roy, I didn't want you to pop off screen because it's about that time of the week. Yet again, it's about that wonderful time of the week. Which, Chad, you're going to talk about Arizona State quite a lot later on the BCJ pod and whatnot. So we don't need to put too much thought into it here, obviously. But
They looked really good Saturday night, boy.
They did. Friday night. But yeah,
Friday night, yeah.
They look like a damn good team. And yet again, it's going to be another reoccurrence of former Bearcats taking on current Bearcats, which is
really shocked on the line.
Yeah.
After that performance.
Really? 3?
I wonder how much of that is time based.
It also
Did you see what they said they're going to do?
Yeah, they're coming Thursday.
They're coming into town Thursday to get acclimated with the time.
Does that really, in 36 hours, do you really get acclimated to a 3-hour time difference? I think that might mess you up more.
Yeah, they're gonna be at 9 a.m. game time.
Groggy.
Gonna have to get up at 6, which is like 3 a.m. for them.
And it's homecoming, and that crowd's coming off a win at the Bounce House. Ooh. And a big win against Ohio State the night before in the basketball exhibition. Ooh. It'd be electric factory.
I bet you that line has the same thing they did with Michigan, Washington. They're just like trying to get people to jump in on everything.
I just hope the two of you, Ryan and Brent, don't end up running into each other before the game and celebrating your victory before you actually go into the game and how much money you're going to make.
Oh,
or tweeting each other in the middle of the third quarter of a large lead.
Yeah. I think that one was worse than the Miami betting.
Yeah, we don't bring that one to the light. What are you guys doing right now? Come on. But hey, it's my favorite time of the week. My favorite time of the week. My favorite time of the week is right now.
Fiercely independent and unabashedly innovative, New Riff produces award-winning bourbon, rye whiskey, and gin at their distillery in Newport, Kentucky. The Aquafire Tasting Room, located on the 3rd floor of the distillery, features cocktails, flights, and pours of New Riff's entire line of spirits, including rare, limited edition, and distillery-exclusive releases. Bearcat Journal listeners can save 50% on distillery tours when you use the code Bearcats24. For more information or to book a tour, visit newriffdistilling.com.
Bang. One last thing. The whole talk around the entire country right now throughout this college football season has been the whole West Coast teams going to the East Coast and East Coast teams going to the West Coast, and how the records have shown that it's very, very difficult when you travel the 2 time zones and whatnot. So keep that in mind when it comes to what you do this Saturday. Go ahead, Roy.
If you watch baseball, you already knew about that.
Oh, the old baseball must be playoff season.
The Reds stink on the West Coast every year.
Yeah,
that's because the Reds stink.
Not this year. They took 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers.
And they got it. Wow, they're doing great.
They swept my Yankees too in New York.
Royer, you gotta be a happy man right now. So this ripping with Royer should be awesome.
Yeah, I popped into the Wes Miller show and gave Chad a "Let's Go Yankees" in the chat. He didn't say anything.
I was in the middle of something at the time.
No, I Chad kind of hit on part of what I was going to bring up, with Sorsby being kind of like a rhythm guy, and kind of how also pairing up with how our run game kind of faltered a little bit comparatively last game. What do you think is more important to kind of get going and would be the biggest factor and help us getting us a win? Do you think Sorsby kind of getting back in his rhythm or getting our run game up there, approaching that 200-yard mark to take down the Sun Devils?
I haven't dug deep enough into them yet to know kind of what the strengths of their defense are. I know they're really physical.
Third best in the Big 12 in rush defense.
Yeah. So that lines up with kind of the way that their coach, runs his program. So I would imagine they're gonna be loaded up heavy. You're also dealing with a Corey Kiner that still is 2 weeks removed from a rib injury. For a running back, that can't be super pleasant over the course of 20, 25 carries over 4 quarters. So I think for right now, like that passing game just it keeps unlocking new levels.
Yeah.
Now teams are going to have to look at Tony Johnson and Jamoy Mays and say, all right, they had 12 catches for 100 and whatever yards. And
right.
So
they can't
took
put
away
all the focus on Henderson now.
Yeah, they took away Henderson, but they've got other guys to go to. So if I'm Satterfield looking at this, like I want to establish the pass. It's supposed to be 65, 70 degrees, like perfect football weather at kickoff. So I would lean pretty heavily on Sorsby and then hope that allows you to open up some lanes, as the game wears on and Arizona State hopefully has to make some decisions on how many guys are we going to put in coverage? How many guys are we going to commit to the box to stop the run game? I imagine they're going to come in here and say it worked for UCF.
Mm-hmm.
The Cincinnati offense was not what it had been because Central Florida really sold out to stop the run. I could see some copycatting there, saying, we're gonna try some of the same stuff to take Kiner and that rushing attack out of its rhythm.
I tell you what, first off, Kenny Dillingham is a wild coach. he gets fired up, man. But yeah, I think I just looking real quick at some of their sets. Obviously, they're better at slowing down the rush. Let's see here. Although you look at it,
they're not bad against the pass either.
The stats are kind of skewed a little bit because you look at the first 2 games, they allowed Wyoming to only run for 40 yards, and they allowed Mississippi State to run for only 24 yards. And then after that, Texas State 132, Texas Tech 133, Kansas 151, and Utah 140. They won all those games except for the game at Texas Tech. It's kind of a lot more even than I thought it was going to be. But I agree with Chad, though. Sorsby, when Sorsby's on, this team is just so good. Kind of do it to set up the run a little bit. I think Kiner gets better as the game wears on as well. So I'd rather see Sorsby be a little bit more on and then let the run develop after that.
Yeah, I think kind of bouncing off what Brent was saying, the pass will develop your run. If you're being forced to be one-dimensional, it's not great for this offense. And I don't want to see that happen. I also don't want to see a situation where you have to throw because you're down so far. So I would like to see the two balance each other because both are working, even if not incredibly efficient, but at least both are working.
All right. And do you guys think if the linebackers have as good of a showing or better, do you think that also results in a Bearcats win on Saturday?
I think
Yes,
that this
go
team, I think this team is really started to click as far as the defense goes. I think they're starting to understand what their assignments are better. I think they're starting to understand what the schemes are better. I think that everything. I think the bye week helped tremendously, and I think that as we're halfway through the season and these guys are well acclimated at this point, you hope to the defense. I think it's showing. I think that they are all starting to get it. And I think as the linebackers elevate, the defensive backs and the defensive line has also elevated because of the linebacker play. So yeah, I think that a linebacker showing out again the way that they did against UCF, I think that is another feather in the cap that would equate to a victory.
Yes, Ron, we will talk some basketball here in a little bit, but it's football season. Okay, we got football talk. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
That preseason ranking is just making it hard for people to accept the football season. I feel like that brought out, dusted off a lot of cobwebs, man. The hype has it been higher? When's the last time it's been this high? This will be a side question.
2018, 19. Right
When was last time they were ranked?
Higher than that. I think, I don't know, being in the Big 12, I think the roster.
Probably that 2017-18 season, like right after, that losing to UCLA in the second round. And then you look at who you bring back, especially after Jacob said he was coming back. I think that kind of had the excitement around it to this level. Because then after that year, obviously, you lost a lot. And so you were kind of like,
Yeah, but you still had Jaron and Trey and
right.
Keith.
Yeah, there was still that excitement.
It wasn't empty.
No, yeah, not at all. But yeah, Roy, real quick, going back to that. Linebackers better damn show up this Saturday because, they're facing one of the
Scat Pack?
Yeah, Cammy Scalaboo. He's what, the fifth best rusher in the entire country? I talk about going up against the third best rusher in the country 1 week, getting a bye week, going up against the 10th best rusher in the country, which at the time I think he was like what, seventh or maybe even higher.
Yeah, he's up there.
And then now you face the fifth best rusher in the country in 3 straight weeks. So yeah, I bet the linebackers understand everything that's chopped up for them. I think that they will be the pivotal reason for the outcome this weekend, a lot like what they were this past weekend. So yes, I think it's paramount for them to be good. And as Chad mentioned, the continued emergence of Antoine Peak. See if he can come in and fill from the star position as well. And Chad,
I think if you look at like Sanks or you look at
Mekhi Miller,
like those two guys are a little more coverage guys. Like, right. Not that they won't come up and run support and hit you, but they're a little bit more like they excel more in space than they do, at least at this point in the career of Jaquan Sanks, than being like a force in the run game. Peak wants to get downhill and smack you. Like that's what his style of play is all about. So I think just with the type of offenses they've been facing, and that doesn't really change. It'll change obviously a little bit against Colorado next week, 10-15 kickoff.
Prime time with prime time. How about that?
Yeah, he has bitched about it. Like he hates it.
Prime time.
They are on, at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock every Saturday out there.
I can't believe
that time slot.
I can't believe I brought the circus to town and they put me in the prime spot. That doesn't even make sense. I'm prime time. They put me in prime time. I don't understand the correlation here.
That will be a long Saturday, boys, but that'll be an exciting game. I tell you what.
Catch Aaron and I on the aftermath at 2 a.m.
Following a roller coaster of a game.
Is Keegan gonna go to the Scott Satterfield presser or the Dion presser?
Try and hit both.
Yeah.
Be in two places at once.
Probably.
He's trying to dap up with Kevin Durant before and head on into the presser. Take T.O. in with him.
I can see Keegan asking a question and DM just being like, "Who the fuck are you? Like, get out."
I don't know if he'd call on him.
Probably not.
Who are you? Keegan, I got receipts. I got receipts on you. So I bet that might be somewhat of the dialogue that goes on there. But yeah, what was the question, Roy? Yeah, Scatterboo.
Yeah.
Gotta slow down Scatterboo. I think there was a tweet a while ago about he went up against Mississippi State, who runs a 3-man front, and he said it was disrespectful that they ran this 3-man front, and he hoisted up 260 yards or something like that. So,
I think Royer might be able to get 200 against Mississippi State.
Only 200?
210.
Don't underestimate me, man.
I mean, what Toledo did to Mississippi State.
Yeah.
All right, Royer.
All right.
Any more?
Fun one. So the weather is starting to cool down. What is your go-to bring on a crisp fall morning tailgate? Start setting the scene for the 9 a.m. showtime for tailgating for homecoming weekend. What do you bring to warm up your patrons?
Okay.
Are like food or like alcohol?
Food. Any and all alcohol. Warm up. Probably
fire. I'd go with a breakfast casserole.
All right.
Biscuits on the bottom, eggs, geta, bacon, and then and cheese, obviously. And then if you really want to like stick to your ribs, you make some spicy sausage gravy, and you take your chunk of breakfast casserole, you lather it up with some spicy sausage gravy. You've got, staying warm in the crock pot, and then you're good to go.
Wow.
The only right answer here is donuts, and that is because they soak up the alcohol, and they are not difficult to purchase and bring, and you don't have to make anything. Just it is an all-around win for everyone. Make sure you eat about 6 of them so you can enjoy your 12-pack of Cincy Light.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say probably Cincy Light and New Riff, and you mix the New Riff with hot apple cider.
I'm going New Riff in the coffee, black coffee. Throw it in the coffee.
Just black coffee and bourbon straight at you.
Oh,
I kind of like that. Good. Oh man, meet me after about 3 of those before kickoff on Saturday. I think you and
I got some stories. I got some stories about you from Orlando that you might have tied one on a little bit.
Who?
You.
Me? Oh, I was feeling great at the game. There's no doubt about that.
How many times did you tell Aaron you loved him?
5. I mean, you got to tell your brothers you love them, man. Come on.
Easy 5.
Always hey, a quick PSA to everyone. Always let your brothers know you love them. Always. But also, Ryan, it's funny that this was your fun one because you texted me over the weekend. You said, "Hey, this game's down in Orlando. Disney World's in Orlando. What's your favorite Disney movie, bro?" I mean, was that just a question between you and I?
Yeah, I didn't think yeah, we might as well bring it up.
Okay, yeah. I mean, shoot.
I got a great answer for this one. That's very topical. Time effective.
Okay.
You probably didn't know this was a Disney movie.
I'm ready.
Pulp Fiction, 30 years ago, released today. It actually was produced by Miramax, and Miramax had just been bought by Disney at the time. So technically, Pulp Fiction is a Disney movie.
That's so interesting.
That is unbelievable. It's a bit of a reach, but we'll let it. Judges, quickly. Oh, okay. We're gonna let it slide. We'll let it slide this time. Aaron, what you got?
Say what one more time, motherfucker.
Whoa! All right. That was aggressive. could go with like a Marvel movie or something like that, but I'm just gonna stick with one of my favorite movies as a kid growing up, and that's gonna be Flight of the Navigator.
Y'all are throwing out some wild picks. I mean, like, what?
You don't even know about Flight of the Navigator.
No.
Sarah Jessica Parker as like a
Oh.
20-year-old.
You had me confused for a
Whoa.
second. Now I am fully intrigued. What is the name of this? Flight of the Navigator? All right.
Yep.
Interesting. Very good.
Sarah Jessica Parker walks into a bar. Bartender says, "Why the long face?"
Oh. Nerd. And then man, how about those Pixar movies these days, Royer? That Inside Out 2 combo, man.
I like those. Those are good. I love Up. I think
Up
Up's
is
my favorite.
Up is great. Wally
Up
is
is great.
great, man.
Wally, yeah, those are good.
You got Encanto, you've got Coco, you've got man, the list goes on.
I feel like there's one I'm not thinking of.
Pixar throws out.
I
bang.
couldn't pick any of those because I watched them all week. It's all I watched.
Moana is a great one.
Yeah, I was gonna say Royer looks like a big Moana guy.
Yeah. You got some great music on that one, some good tunes, man. And of course, the classics.
I just started watching Penguin.
Oh yeah, it's a good show.
It's good. Penguin and Severance. That's what I've been on.
Penguin is it's Sopranos in Gotham City.
Yeah, it's good.
It's
Oh, I
good.
saw the new Joker.
Not
Very
good?
poorly reviewed. I mean,
Okay, so it's good.
it was, they took some risks. I didn't hate it, but
Okay.
it essentially undermines the whole theme and plot developed over 2 movies. So
I'm gonna still watch it.
yeah.
Fuck it.
Joaquin's still the boy. So
All right,
Okay.
let's go. Natty Ron's getting agitated. Ron,
Ron,
we talk
you're
about
right.
lots of stuff here. It's gonna be okay. You'll survive.
Quick paper supply.
Oh, we got to do another one of those.
I mean,
This timestamp is brought to you by Quick Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. They provide mostly disposable restaurant supplies, to-go containers, cups, pizza boxes, to-go bags, can liners, napkins. They've been open since 2009 and are one of the largest minority-owned companies in the city. Call Nick 513-470-2029 and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
bang. Ken Palm, 17th, the highest beginning
here
to a
we
season
go.
since the 2017-2018 season, where they started the year at, I believe it was 12th in the Ken Palm that season, heading into the season. Highest AP poll preseason ranking since that same year. And of course, obviously 20th in the AP this year. First time ranked since the end of the 2018-19 season, which was McCronen's final game against Iowa in the tournament. Finished that year 22nd in the country in the AP poll. Right now, the projected offensive efficiency rating is 25th in the country, which obviously that has a lot of fluctuation to it. But if that stood still throughout the entire year, that would be the highest offensive rating since the 2003-2004 season, which is crazy. And the defensive efficient in the 2017-18 season, they finished second in the country in adjusted efficiency defense. This year, preseason on Ken Palm, they are 13th in the country. Boy, these are some great numbers leading into this Friday's exhibition game against Ohio State, which Chad, I thought it was interesting that Wes continued to stress that yes, they want to win any game where the ball is tipped and you're keeping score, but they are not approaching this at all like a game that they would in preparation and scouting Ohio State, this, that, and the other. But there's no reason to not be excited for Cincinnati Bearcat basketball, especially with the AP poll release and the Ken Palm poll release.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to spend a bunch of time scouting. Well, one, you can't.
Right.
Ohio State's got a bunch of new players. That's a first-year head coach, even though he kind of, steered the ship at the end of last year. He wasn't exactly going to be putting in all of his own stuff like they did this offseason. So you don't have anything to scout. So it's silly to think that you're going to, spend a bunch of time scouting Ohio State. I kind of, I enjoy the prospect of getting to see like a preseason, like, I don't want to say pickup game because it'll be more organized than that, but you get what I mean. Like,
Right.
All right, here's our guys, here's your guys. Like, let's get out there and mix it up for 40 minutes. I'm excited to see it. Ohio State's got some talent. I think it's hard to say like what the style is going to be. I'm sure both coaches are going to run some unusual lineups out there and kind of mess with things a little bit. And you're going to see the back of the bench a little bit more than you will like in if it were a regular season game. But super interested to see who that starting five is. I know that's I believe that's a question in the mailbag that we've got coming up here in a little bit. What the early rotations look like. I think it's I'm excited. I'm ready for basketball season to rock and roll.
Aaron, are you feeling a little giddy inside with all the excitement that's brewing around Wes Miller in the program?
Well, before we go anywhere with that, I did want to make sure we get Connor his $5 worth here, as he did make a donation. What do you all think of the men's basketball top 25 preseason rank? Too low or just right?
Just right.
Yeah. I was thinking between like 19 and 21, 19 and 22.
I was guessing they were going to end up just outside.
Really?
Like 26, 27.
I was also surprised that they made it into the top 25 at all. So
I was going to be
little,
very sad if they ended up outside.
I thought it was a little high.
The way that I feel like a lot of these AP poll people probably look at a lot of the way too early rankings and whatnot and kind of listen to the national media a little bit more. And pretty much all of them had Cincinnati in their top 25. So I would have been very sad and dejected if they didn't roll their way in there.
I couldn't care less. I hope they play with a chip on their shoulder. Leave them out of the top 25. Who cares? It's the preseason. Go win games.
I agree. But the little number next to him is always fun.
I mean, the thing that it does help, if you can win, you stay on SportsCenter. Your name is down there on the scroll every game. There are some specific benefits that come with perks that come with being in the top 25. So
who's still watching SportsCenter?
I still have it on in the mornings. There's nothing else on at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I don't have to watch Bluey every day.
I don't have control of the TV.
Hey! Don't knock Bluey, man. Bluey puts.
I'm not knocking Bluey. I'm saying I don't have to watch it. Not that I don't watch it, but I don't have to.
Okay, fair enough.
Notice we're not watching Caillou.
There we go.
Fuck that kid.
Exactly. Shouts to Bryce Cherry of the Waco Tribune Herald. He had the Bearcats at the highest rank of any AP voter, 14th in the country. He knows a little something about the Bearcats. So shouts to Mr. Bryce Cherry. Yeah, I think obviously the excitement is more so around the quote unquote the movement, to use the word that Wes and the entire program has used over and over, is yes, you feel it kind of brewing around Cincinnati, but once you start to get that national media attention as well, that's when you get more eyes on it recruit wise, you get more eyes on it just other teams around the country, and it's very deservedly so with the amount they brought back and everything that we talked about during the offseason. But what's your guys' pulse on the fact that obviously Cincinnati is one of 5 Big 12 schools in the AP top 25, and then they are 17th in the KenPom preseason, and the KenPom has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
7 in the top
6,
17.
7 in the top 17, and 8 in the top 21.
So there are 6 in the AP poll. There's half of the top 10.
Yeah, 6 in the AP. Sorry.
Half in the top 10. And then Cincinnati at 20. So they're 20th in the country and 6th in the conference, behind 5 top 10 teams, which is just stupid beyond belief. I mean, it's a great league. It's an incredible league. And there's going to be 1 or 2 teams that are down in that bottom half that are going to have a good season. So you're going to probably have 9 or 10 schools that are going to be battling, up at the top half of this conference. So it's stupid.
My pulse on this is just that we kind of already knew this, right? This isn't really a surprise. So it was, I guess, for me, a nothing burger, only because we already had a pretty good idea this was coming.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the whole number next to the name is everything. But I mean, you look 2 years ago, UConn was unranked on the AP poll coming into the first, week of the year. They obviously went on to win the national championship. It's nothing for now, but it's still something to kind of show a little validation for the forward trajectory that everyone has. So I'm all about it. Just any positive news to kind of bolster the team in a national light, I'm absolutely here for.
What I think I saw today, the last 2 years, the team that was 17th in KenPom to open the season made it to the Final Four.
Yeah, and they were like ranked. Sorry, they were a 1 or 2 seed in every NCAA tournament. So, hey, I'll take that. I will take that. KenPom obviously has his predictions out for each game. He's got Cincinnati with a 21-10 record, 12-8 in the Big 12. That would easily make the NCAA tournament. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 projected quad 1 games. It's just a baffling.
Schedule harder. We need more meat in the non-conference schedule.
It's a baffling number. And then, of course, when the schedule came out, we talked about those first 5 games in the Big 12 at Kansas State, home versus Arizona, at Baylor, home versus Kansas, and then even throw in at Colorado. Every single one of those is shaping up to be a quad 1, very difficult
Colorado
game.
is?
They've got Colorado at Colorado, 80th. They've got it as an A game, so I guess it would be just right outside of the quad 1 that goes up to 75 for road matchups. So
I think
it'd be right there on the brink. So tough games upcoming for the old Bearcats.
Thanks for the donation, Connor. Ideal starting 5 we will get to here in just a moment in the mailbag.
Anything else as far as the AP poll / KenPom?
Nope.
A lot more basketball talk as we get closer and closer to the season.
We'll have a game to talk about.
Oh yeah, which will be
next Monday.
Boy, you have no idea how excited I am for that one. Just to see the new toys, man. That's the main thing. I just excited to see the new toys. One last thing, Jalen Reese did post his top 3. It's got Cincinnati, Providence, and LSU. Obviously, he point guard out of Orlando, Florida Rebels. Obviously, a lot of ties there with Cincinnati as well. He is making his decision this Wednesday. Anything pulse-wise on this one, Chad, Aaron, Royer, if you want to throw in some words at all?
It doesn't sound like it's going to be the Bearcats. I haven't heard that 100% on my end, but it doesn't sound like it. It's not a huge shock once Keyshawn Tillery committed. It's really hard to go out, especially point guard and center, those we talk about positionless basketball. You still need a point guard. You still need a center.
Mm-hmm.
Getting two of them in the same freshman class just becomes a numbers game. There's just not going to be enough minutes to go around to keep everybody happy. So
somewhat similar type of game.
Yeah, and also if you think Wes wants 3 guys that can play point guard.
Right.
So if you get Tillery, you get Jalen Reese, and then Jizzle James, whether he stays or goes to the NBA, and you go out and get somebody from the transfer portal, it's going to be tight getting into that point guard rotation the first year or two. So it doesn't sound like Cincinnati, but like I said, I have not been told for certain that is a formality. So I will keep my eye on it as we go forward, but LSU or Providence would be my guess.
Okay. There we go. Let's go ahead and big game. We're charity exhibition this Friday night. Ohio State coming into town. It's going to be exciting to and I do like probably unintentional as well how it's falling on homecoming week. Just adds to the extra allure around Cincinnati sports, and of course the excitement leading into the basketball season as well, as it's just less than a month away. So get out there Friday night. Obviously support a good cause, but on top of it, get to see your first glimpse
back at it early Saturday morning.
Right. I might as well just stay the night in Clifton, right? Let's all just camp out in the grid. That'd be fun.
No.
Okay, fair enough.
No.
All right, let's timestamp it, and then we'll mailbag it up.
Quick Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. They service over 150 restaurants with weekly low minimum next-day deliveries. A wide range of food service products, to-go containers, cups, custom printed products, eco-friendly, and much more. They also have cleaning restroom supplies for all your janitorial needs. Call Nick 513-470-2029 and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
I think Luke Fickle's mom just liked one of my tweets. That was weird. Anyway.
Man, what do you tweet, dude?
It was about the podcast.
Are you tweeting about Royer on the BBP? That's it. Royer still got a little place in old Luke's heart. We all know it.
All right. Starting out in the football portion of the mailbag, as we always do, we have a long one here. Assuming we have no key injuries and the defense continues to improve, what is our most likely ceiling for wins, and what would constitute a likely version of a devastating collapse? This is most likely ceiling. A 6-0 and an unexpected appearance in the conference championship
Killer
game.
V, hold on, Aaron. Killer V, can we shorten these? Can you find a way to shorten these a little bit going forward? We don't need a novel in the mailbag. Can we the challenge is, can you say it in enough characters to tweet?
200 or less. 6-0 and an unexpected appearance in the conference championship game with a final record of 10-2, 5-1 losing only to K-State or Iowa State, and a final record of 9-3, 4-2 losing to both K-State and Iowa State, and finishing 8-4, 3-3 losing all 3 road games but defending NIP, and finishing 7-5, 2-4 losing at least one game we are favored to win but finishing 6-6 and making a bowl game, 1-5 losing at least twice at home in all 3 road games and finishing 5-7 or 0-6, and utterly shitting the bed and finishing just one game better than last year at 4-8. Per ESPN Power Rankings, we should finish 3-2-1 with West Virginia being a toss-up. That projects out to 7-4-1.
You got to get to bowl eligibility. Period.
Yeah. I think this team could be. I don't see him going above 8. I think 8 is a lot. 7, I think, is realistic. But yeah, the bottom floor is, if you don't make a bowl, then it's a complete failure. Especially sitting at 4-2, it should be 6-0. So I felt so crazy saying that before the season, and then Brent, you hit on it a little bit.
Yeah,
we'd already be in a bowl game if we kind of took care of some stuff. But Yeah,
Which-
I'm saying six or bust. 7, I think, is realistic.
Kenny Dillingham actually mentioned that in his weekly press conference where he said Cincinnati is literally a handful of plays away from being 6-0 or ranked in the top 15 in the country. So it's a crazy thing to think about that Ryan Royer predicted it coming into the season and it almost happened. So
which is exactly why I'm going to say that 8 is the ceiling. I think that's a realistic ceiling. I think that you can have that conversation that Cincinnati finishes 4-2, and I don't think that's crazy talk. That said, I think they end up stealing one from Kansas State and Iowa State, and one or the other.
I don't.
And well, I don't believe in Kansas State. I think that one's probably the more realistic of the two. But I don't know. We'll see. But I think that's a ceiling. That said, I don't know that they necessarily finish at 8 wins, but I still think that's a realistic ceiling with this team, especially if you're talking about them being 6-0.
If they had one of those games at home, I might be with you, Aaron. Playing those games in the middle of November in the Little Apple in Ames, Iowa, like I don't feel great about that.
Avery
especially
Johnson is
when
the most,
they're go ahead.
Avery Johnson is the most overrated quarterback in the top 25.
Okay, Chris Canty.
That's fine.
Chad, anything from you out of
I
this?
mean, I you have to get to a bowl game. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
None of these games are easy. Look, Arizona
No.
State and Colorado are good. West Virginia, who knows where they're going to be at that point if they take a couple more L's.
Wild card.
But,
Yeah,
but they
complete
just
wild
beat
card.
they've got weird wins too, which is
Yeah, you got to beat TCU. Like that one gets you one.
Yeah.
Sonny Dykes.
And then you just got to find one more and you're bowl eligible. Like
Yeah.
anything below 6-6 is we're not having a lot of fun on this podcast the rest of the season.
No. This weekend is so big. You win that one, and you're kind of just like all the momentum in the world behind you. Just got to secure one more win to make the bowl. I think if they win this weekend, I think they win both remaining home games as well, and they get to that 7 wins. Lose this weekend, I think that they're stuck on 6 with the 2 wins against West Virginia and TCU at home.
Fenway
Yeah,
Bowl,
just
here we
make-
come.
God, just dropping both of those 2 losses. I mean, if you could just get one, I feel like
We
Give me
don't
that
live in the
pancake.
past, Royer.
I know. It's also kind of crazy just to think about just the difference of like being in the American and like the Big 12 is just like how much we've improved, and like you feel like this team's taken such a big step, and it's just like we're talking about 6 wins just because the level of competition is just so much different, and just hard to be. It's hard to be like truly happy about being 6-6, but it is a good step forward.
All right.
3-9
Question-
last year.
Yeah.
Question for Ryan.
Ooh.
How much time do guys need to study the playbook before freshman year? Not watching film, just sitting down and memorizing plays.
Well, some guys pick it up quicker than others. Like if you're not doing at least an hour a night just in the playbook, then you're behind. And then what we would do is freshmen watch an extra hour of film and then go home, study the playbook for an hour, if not more after, and then before you go in, study for another 30 minutes to an hour before practice. That was typical. But film is what really kind of gets the advantage. But if you don't know what the hell you're supposed to be doing, it doesn't really matter.
All right. And the last question in the football portion of the mailbag. Do you think it would be appropriate to have a weekly open competition for place kicker, or is it better to just stick with one or the other? Before you answer that, I did want to point out Buffalo's kicker tonight already had one that sailed about 40 yards left on him.
On an extra point.
On an extra point. And the New York Giants kicker missed Not one, but two. Granted, he did have a new holder this week, but another kicker that missed 2 in a game last night.
It's not easy.
No.
I would say,
Pick a guy and go.
yeah. Unless he's really shit in the bed, then
Right.
I mean-
if the guy misses like 3 or 4 in a row and you got to make a change, you make a change. But I think you pick one and go.
Rory, didn't you guys do this a little bit? I feel like, or maybe it was just that
Yeah.
one time at Navy, I think,
yeah.
when Cole Smith,
Bales came in and made a 15.
Bales came in and nailed that one right before halftime.
Cole's also hurt a little bit during
Right.
that year.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like so much about kicking is confidence, and it's just that would be like hitting the non-confidence button on both kickers if you have a dual kicker approach.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
mental. Like you don't want to make both of them question themselves.
Right.
Give all of your kickers the yips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Pick a guy and
one
go.
goes out there, he's like, I have to make this throw. They're not going to let me go out here again. And all of a sudden, it's like, all right, that's not what you're going to be thinking about going out there. So,
All right, that is the football portion of the mailbag. Moving on to the basketball portion. Any word on how Ohio State is planning on treating the exhibition game on Friday?
Like an exhibition.
bringing in
game,
Greg
but like
Oden
the
and
guys.
Mike Conley. They're going to have both of them in the starting lineup. Jared Solinger is playing as well. And Aaron Kraft is starting at point guard.
I mean,
Michael Red.
ultimately, you are still trying to learn your team. You are trying to figure out what your team looks like in a live game setting. You
Scooty
don't.
Penn. Any more you got while we're here?
Did Chad leave? God, Aaron, you had to just push it too far, didn't you?
You didn't like Skinny Penn?
He was fine. But yeah, once Chad comes back, I think he's going to be able to finish his point of view because I think it's actually the right way.
I have nothing else to say.
I mean, they've got so many new players, a lot like we do. Not really. We're working in a couple to our returning core, so yeah, I'll be interested to see kind of. I'm sure they're going to approach it the same way we are, and that's just seeing how what rotations seem to kind of work a little bit more than others, and kind of who steps up and fills in like a certain rotation here or a certain defensive stop there, and I don't know. It's going to be an exhibition, and like Wes said, he didn't put much credence into last season when Arkansas and Purdue played in the preseason exhibition game. He doesn't even remember who won the game. Neither do I. Purdue went on to the national championship game, so that's that.
It'll be treated like a scrimmage from both sides.
All right. In years past, we've had a quote, the team goes how he goes, end quote, player. Think David DeJulius or Jaron Cumberland. That seemed to change throughout the season last year. Early it was Day. Late it was CMOS. Hopefully there's enough talent that no one guy is too important. But still, who is that player this year?
I don't know that there is one because there's so many like top of the roster level options that, I don't think there was that player when the roster was Gary, Jake, Jaron, Kyle. Like if one guy was down, another guy picked up the slack. Like I think that's kind of the type of roster you have this year. That hopefully there's going to be nights where your leading scorer has an off night or whatever. I think this is going to be one of those groups that's kind of tightly bunched in terms of like who the leading scorer is. It's going to be dependent on matchups. You're going to be able to like pick out a matchup and say we're gonna work this tonight. We're going to focus on that. I just don't know. Like it doesn't really fit. I don't think this group. I mean, maybe if Jizzle like really explodes and becomes like a first team all conference point guard, then maybe, that's the answer.
That's what I was going to say.
But like Dan is going to have nights where he's got 20. Jizzle's going to have nights with 20. CMOS is going to have nights with 20. Like, I think it's going to be spread out enough that you're not that reliant on, if this guy doesn't have it tonight, we're in trouble.
Well, going back to your point about last year it was all new players. This year you're returning a large core. They're already talking about being unselfish. You had two guys who weren't even eligible to start the season until they were. And last year was just a weird mess early on in regards to what your roster was that you had to sort through, figure out, and get to where you got by the end of non-con before conference started. This year you don't have to worry about a large majority of that. So I think that you kind of have guys who have established roles at this point, and I don't think you, to Chad's point again, I don't think you have to worry about the team goes how he goes player in really any regard.
Yeah, I think if Jizzle's the answer, either there were some injuries or or the team's winning like 26 games and he's like a handful of the very tough games went one way or another because he was a little off or something like that. Because I think that would be like extreme either way. So I don't think there is one, which is awesome.
Great. That's true depth. Now that you have eyewitnessed practices and have player level input from Wes, who starts game one of the non-con. Team A, Day, Hickman, Dan, Mitchell, Aziz, Jizzle, and CMOS first off the pine. Team B, Day, Jizzle, Dan, CMOS, Aziz, Mitchell, and Hickman first off the pine. Jizzle, Dan, CMOS, Mitchell, Aziz, Day, and Hickman first off the pine. Jizzle, Hickman, Dan, Mitchell, Aziz, Day, and CMOS first off the pine. Notice that Dan and Aziz appear in every lineup combo.
I've gone back and forth on this a lot. I don't know how you don't start Jizzle, Dan, CMOS, Dylan Mitchell, and Aziz.
That's what I was saying there.
I agree.
Those are your five best players. I get, maybe you don't want CMOS like playing the three.
Yeah, he gets the four.
So then maybe, him or Dylan come off the bench and Connor Hickman goes into the starting lineup in that scenario.
Hickman over Day.
I think Hickman would start at the 2 before you would play Jizzle and Day together in a starting lineup. Hickman can play the 1, but he's more of a combo guard. He's more of a 2.
He's a dunker now too, huh?
So he's got some bunnies. Got some hops.
Woody Harrelson
for a 6'2" white kid with a comb over. But I think your best five are Jizzle, Dan, CMOS, Dylan, and Aziz. So I think that's the most likely. But if Day starts, I wouldn't be shocked. If Connor starts, I wouldn't be shocked. Like, I think you've got a legitimate 7 quote unquote starters with this group.
And it doesn't seem like there's much of an ego drag either way either, because Jizzle came off the bench the entire year last year. CMOS had times where he came off the bench. Dan started the season coming off the bench. So I don't think there's much of an ego trip either way.
I think you'll see some different starting lineups throughout the season anyway. And I wonder how much of them will be matchup oriented as opposed to just starting your best 5. I'm curious to see how some of that plays out. But yeah, I think we're all on the same page as far as the starting 5 that we want to see. Under a month now from the early signing period, assuming the recruits UC is close with all decide and sign early, how important do you think it is for UC to land one more guy? Would you be okay with one high school recruit in the 25 class?
Yeah, it's totally different now. They could take no high school recruits, and I wouldn't be that bothered by it, because then you you probably need to go get a couple younger guys or whatever, like in the transfer portal, but the portal changes everything. You're not in panic mode if you don't have a big November. So, I mean, yeah, obviously getting Abev or Hannah would, give them a question they don't have to answer going into the spring, but I don't think it really changes a whole lot. Like, the navigation of building a college basketball roster is a million times different than it was, 2-3 years ago. And I just don't I'm not going to lose sleep over a high school, what the high school class looks like, because there's a lot of, if you're noticing, there's a lot more decommitments and there's a lot more stuff that happens in the spring now. So that if you don't get what you want right now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not adding to your high school class with a high level player in the spring. So yeah, I think they would prefer to add one of those two guys on the wing. If they don't, I don't think it's a big deal at all.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you're adding, Brent. Just
I mean, Chad kind of pretty much sums it all up, and also obviously NIL is the whole thing of this too, where you kind of know your known commodities if you go for someone in the portal, and kind of what they've been able to showcase on the collegiate level. Where if you're reaching for a high school guy who might be having some sort of a price tag on him and you're kind of taking a gamble, you don't have to take that gamble anymore. So, yeah, my response is because that's pretty much what Chad said in a way.
I liked your NIL point. That's I think you better be damn good if you're going to spend NIL money on an incoming freshman.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Any word on how Dylan Mitchell has acclimated to the system?
He looks good. I mean, his style of play is a little bit I think it needs to be more game observation than practice observation, but he's rebounded well. He's getting the ball and pushing the break. He's such a good finisher around the rim, which is something that, was not a forte of this team, to put it mildly, a season ago. So to have somebody that can really get down there and knows how to take contact and put the biscuit in the basket, it's a very positive thing for what they were lacking, improving on what they were not good at last year.
God, we talked so much about missed dunks and layups last year.
Yeah, lobs.
And can move defensively.
Shitty lobs.
Yeah.
All right. That is the end of the basketball portion of the mailbag. The last portion, of course, is the Banks and Skins makes an appearance.
What? No.
I want it noted that rumors of my demise were premature. Question: what is worse,
Whoa.
being a Reds fan or the entertainment at a Diddy party?
Whoa, we just got flagged by YouTube for that. But Skinners, welcome back, man. Aye.
Coming back hot. Well, it all depends on what part of the Diddy party you're partaking in, I'm guessing.
It's not being a Reds fan. I'll just say that.
Yeah, that'll be my point of view as well.
All right. And the last question. Welcome back, Skins. We missed you.
Welcome back, Skins, my man.
I didn't miss him that much.
I miss him a lot.
Brent was like, that was like the Avengers for Brent.
That was. I thought he snapped and he was gone, but no, my boy is back. Let's go.
Rapid fire pick'em. We know how this is going to go. Football movies edition. We actually might be in luck because I don't know how many of these movies Chad's seen. The Replacements versus The Last Boy Scout.
Never seen
The Last Boy Scout. I've seen that one.
The Replacements.
The Replacements.
Jane Falco. Stud.
Miles and miles of heart.
What's your biggest fear? Spiders. No, what's your biggest fear on the field? Spiders on the field, coach.
Brian's Song versus Rudy.
Rudy.
Rudy stinks. What a terrible movie.
Brian's
Rudy is right up
Song-
there with Hoosiers as one of the worst sports movies of all time.
Brian's Song is so
I don't
depressing.
even
What
know
are you
what
talking
Brian's
about?
song is.
It's with Gail Sayers and Brian, what's his name? Pettigrew? Brian Peppa something.
Can we just not watch either of those movies? That's what I'm out on both.
Rudy stinks.
Necessary Roughness versus Wildcats.
Necessary Roughness.
I don't know those ones.
Those sound like
Brian
adult type.
Piccolo. There we go. Brian Piccolo. And
Yeah,
Gail
Brian
Sayers.
Piccolo.
I am not familiar with either movie here.
Necessary Roughness is the one with Kathy Ireland, right?
Yeah. Sounds a little risky.
I'll go with that. I'll go with that. Kathy Ireland was smoking.
Okay. I'm there with you too. Why not?
Not by the time I was old enough. All the Right Moves versus The Program. I'm going The Program.
Yeah, I haven't seen all the right moves, so the program. I'm in there.
The Water Boy.
Either one.
The Water Boy versus Varsity Blues.
Waterboy is so funny.
Oh,
Waterboy.
Waterboy is so good.
I'm the only one that would pick Varsity Blues.
I haven't really seen Varsity Blues.
Damn.
No, the answer is Waterboy, and there's no doubt about that.
It's not. Remember the Titans versus We Are Marshall.
We suck again. Remember
So
that.
I went to Marshall. I have not seen We Are Marshall, and I don't think I can ever watch it. It's too
Matthew McConaughey, come on now.
It's too depressing. I got to know that, like, I was there for the 25th anniversary. It's too depressing. Like, it's too real for me, so I can't watch it.
Okay.
I would say Remember the Titans.
So I guess I need to watch Wildcats based off Jason Cooper and MW2 Top G. The cast of Wildcats is very good. Wildcats is better than Necessary Roughness. Uh-oh. We're all in. I looked it up. Necessary Roughness has Sinbad in it, which is crazy.
Huh.
Because he was in Shazam. No, he wasn't. It was actually Kazam, and it was,
That was Shaq.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Yep. Little Giants versus Draft Day.
Oh, baby. Little Giants.
I agree.
Little Giants.
The annexation of Puerto Rico.
Draft Day was corny.
Spike don't care. Spike don't play with girls.
Draft Day was corny. I didn't like Draft Day.
I mean, it was decent. It was what it was.
It was a money grab by Costner.
This is. I mean, that's Royer's favorite movie. He's being quiet because we're bashing it, but I mean, he loves some Draft Day brownies talk. So.
Oh, the Browns are completely disassociated from my mind.
I hope Art Modell got a check for that movie.
I think he did. Why not?
Any Given Sunday versus The Longest Yard, the 1974
Oh,
version.
Any Given Sunday, over and over again.
Any Given Sunday.
Football's a
You only
game
have-
of inches.
You only have the 6 inches in front of your fucking face.
Oh, ooh. I mean, that's a good movie right there.
It is
Willie
a
Beeman.
fantastic movie.
Willie Beeman.
Jesse Spano.
Okay, lock it in. Yeah.
American Underdog versus Greater.
No.
How many movies are there? Jeez.
I don't know.
I mean,
What in the
Googled
hell?
football movies and put every football movie in this question.
Can
never
I
heard
put
of
Air?
either.
Can I put Air Bud over those two?
Yeah, I'll take Air Bud over those two.
North Dallas 40 versus the Express. No idea what either of those are.
I think the Express. That one's with. Isn't that the Illinois one? I don't know.
Sure. And then the two movies I have heard of: Invincible versus Friday Night Lights.
Friday Night
Friday
Lights.
Night
Now
Lights.
that's a hell of a movie right
Oh
there.
yeah.
And an excellent TV series as well. We all agree. That's the mailbag. Get us out of here, Brent.
We ain't gonna win if you don't put Booby in, man. Shoot, Booby Miles. That's a stud right there. Okay, well, I guess it's homecoming week, guys. Booby Miles, aka Cam Scatterboo, coming into Nippert Stadium on Saturday at 12 noon. It's going to be a thrilling affair as homecoming football is live. This Friday, charity exhibition, support a great cause, and of course, get out there, check out the Wes Miller and the Cats. 20th in the preseason AP poll, 17th in the Ken Pom. Excitement brewing there. But shouts to Danco Transmission and Auto Care. Shouts to Quick Paper Supply. Shouts to New Riff for the Riffing with Royer segment. Good job today, Ryan. That was a really good one. But nothing else out of you guys. We ready to tie a bow on this one, huh? All right. Well, for my guys, my pal, the crew, Aaron Smith, Chad Brendel, and Ryan Royer, I am Brent Young. Another fantastic BBP presented by BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!